with his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
You know what I mean? And you made the point saying that this is footage coming from a different camera. But I'm still pushing back on the idea of, like, what is the footage going to show that we don't already know?
Oh, I think we have to wait until the footage is released to answer that question.
You know what I'm saying? What story is this footage going to tell us that we don't already know?
Yeah, and I think this, I try to be hopeful. I would also say, I think this footage, in my opinion, we already know that Attorney Benjamin Crump has an incredible case. I believe that this footage could even be more of assistance for him to push even further, because what the video that we have seen so far, it gives us the ocular proof of what has taken place. But a lot of other nuances as what happened before and what happens after, like when the EMT, that is all speculation. This video could finally be kind of the nail in the coffin for that. So I'm going to look.
Or it could actually help spring the cops from custody. Not likely, but
look in the hopeful direction, because we already know what the government, in this case the police department, what they're capable of doing. But I'm going to put all my hopes into Attorney Crump and his team, because I know that they're going to do something amazing with this.
That's true. I mean, we're starting off the month talking about a black man being brutally beaten by other black men. This is how we start off Black History 2023. We start off the month with that. We literally started off the month at a funeral.
Mm. And I do want to make a contextual analysis here. It's very important that it is very, very true that those black men were beating another black man. But I want to be very clear that the system that they are participating in is white supremacy. And I don't want there to be
never mind what I said earlier about him. He's just another racist asshole.
Any distinction between this, because folks have been using, you see Tucker Carlson talking about white on white, black on black crimes and so on and so forth. I just want to remind you all that in systems of white supremacy, if you ever watched the Django, you couldn't tell Samuel Jackson that he wasn't, quote unquote, a white person because he was benefiting from being there, even though he was still a slave. So I just want to be very clear that even though these were 5 black men, that they were operating under the system of white supremacy.
Really? The police chief was black. The director of special operations that ran the Scorpion unit was black. So tell me how again that they're operating under the white supremacy structure.
Which also reminds you that if you are able to get into the proverbial house, that maybe you've done better. But as Jay-Z would say in 444, still nigga. Either way.
Absolutely. Dejima, you checked in, you said this could be used to justify moving the case to a white suburbs like Rodney King being moved to Simi Valley, which is mostly white with lots of police residents, right?
Yeah, he probably moved to Simi Valley because it was safer. Might have something to do with it. What's up with these guys?
It could be. It could be. You know what I'm saying?
And if he had moved into a black neighborhood, they would have said he's trying to get away from all these white cops because of white supremacy. You can't win. They're always going to mangle it to where it's white people who are to blame. You know, why not just own up to sometimes it is white people who are bad, and sometimes it's black people who are bad. It happens. Quit trying to finger white people for every wrong.
I think that's the other part of that. You know what I mean? Like, we got to look at the implications that this new footage or this particular set of footage will have on the trial. We got to look at it. Now, here's the thing. Now, you talking about 5 black police officers. I think each one of these black men will be convicted. I don't see them getting past this, right? It's obvious that they did what they did. They did it without any sense of humanity. They did it. The white cop, the 6th cop, and the 7th. We still don't know who the 7th cop is.
And they're not demanding to know. There's no demand whatsoever to finding out the identity of the 7th cop because they don't care. They got the white dude. That's all they wanted.
But those two, but in particular, the 6th cop that opened up the door, dragged Tyre out.
Oh, in particular, the white cop. And they are actually mistaken. Preston Hemphill did not open the door and did not drag Tyre Nichols out. It was Officer Martin, but they think it was. And so they're saying, in particular, that one, not the 7th guy. Oh, no, we don't care about him. It's Preston they want.
And said on video, I hope they stomp his ass.
I hope they kick the crap out of him. I hope they whoop his butt. So what? Now, if he was their superior and he told them, go there and kick his ass, that might mean something, but he didn't. I don't think that the people who beat up on old Tyre even heard him. But they certainly didn't do it because they heard Preston Hemphill telling them that he hoped they would. Does it look like they're really operating under Preston Hemphill's direction? I mean, give it up, guys. I mean, suppose a boxer dies in the ring. Are you going to convict the other boxer because he said he was going to murder that man in the pre-bout ceremony?
See, that's the one that I think might slide under the radar. That's the one that might get a hand slap.
He's sliding under the radar? Are you kidding me? Of the 2 officers, he was the one they named. They didn't name the 7th one at all. We still don't know who it is. But it's Preston that's sliding under the radar. And by the way, he got fired. The other one didn't. So he's not sliding under the radar. There's only one small problem. He didn't commit any crimes. And that's going to be a little bit of trouble for you. He got fired. He shouldn't have been fired, in my opinion. I didn't see anything there that constituted termination. Yeah, maybe some disciplinary action. Now, if he's been committing a lot of problems beforehand and this was the last straw, that would be different, obviously.
Versus everybody else getting jail time. And so it's like, if there's going to be a clear sense of, justice, then every single person on the scene needs to feel the consequences of their actions.
Doesn't matter if they committed any crimes to him. He didn't say that. He said everybody at the scene needs to be charged and convicted. Yeah, they have to face the consequences, regardless of whether they committed any crimes. But you see, when he says every single person there, he means Preston Hemphill. That's who he wants. It's not an exaggeration to say, by the way, that if Preston got convicted for murder and those 5 black officers were acquitted, he probably wouldn't mind that at all.
Absolutely, because the same way when a police officer pulls somebody over who has maybe marijuana in their car, and the people who are in the car who may have not been the owners of that marijuana are now implicated with intention to sell or intention to distribute.
That's not the law. Sorry, that's not the law. I love how I caught him there, but no, just because you're in the car with a lot of marijuana doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be charged for it.
I think that same energy should be kept with that officer that opened the door, because at the very least, he uttered the words out of his mouth. He professed what he wanted to happen, which those other guys.
He professed what he wanted to happen. There's no law against that. I hope he kicks their butt. And then later you find out that the person did, but he wasn't acting under your orders. You haven't committed a crime. There is free speech in this country. He didn't tell anybody to go and commit a crime. He just expressed his wishes on what would happen. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have, and it was probably a violation of police policy, but it's not a crime to express your desires.
Bro, he damn near gave an order.
There you go.
Now, I don't know.
He damn near gave an order, but he didn't. Damn near doesn't cut it in court, dude. Sorry. And those guys were not even in earshot of him. And he also had no authority to give the order. They don't have to listen to him.
Know what his rank is among the other officers, right? But it's like if you as a police officer, you should not even. And the craziness, I was watching something else. I think I was watching D.L. Hughley on the Breakfast Club. I was watching that earlier today, and it was the fact they were bringing up that these guys must have been doing this so much that they felt like they were invincible to be suffering the consequences, because they did this all on body cam, bro. They did all of this while the camera was on. So you mean to tell me that's just how? And I know one of the police officers had a history back in 2016. I'll pull up the name for you. But one of the officers, he had another incident a few years ago where he almost killed an inmate by beating him to death. You see what I'm saying? So you mean to tell me this is how you roll? This is what you do. And even though there's a body cam, there's a camera on a light post, there's a camera here and a camera there. You got other officers, maybe officers in authority. Even though all of that exists, you still felt like you could do this and you could walk away from it. Now that's crazy. That's crazy. That's the part about it, is like we're at a point where Joker, we were, remember Sinead when Freddie Gray was happening? Mm-hmm. And we were all calling for body cams on police officers in the state of Maryland. We were like, look, if they got body cams, no way in the world will they keep brutalizing us. No way in the world something's going to happen, because they're going to be seeing that body camera. Man, and I'm not saying it doesn't work, because it does play a huge factor in the legal proceedings. But just the fact that a person can still do something this egregious, even with the body cam on, that means you really don't give a damn. And that means that your department really don't hold these officers accountable.
Yeah, and we have to remember, the body, little did we know.
By the way, they're still talking about President Hemphill. That's who they're all pissed off about. It's not the 5 cops at the scene.
When we were in Maryland doing what we were doing, not only with the Freddie Gray situation, but even getting the law officer Bill of Rights changed, I think one thing we forget is that a body cam is a Band-Aid to a very deep subcutaneous gash.
No, that's not what you told us when you wanted them. You said we need body cams because they will expose the truth. But what's happening is that the body cams are actually highlighting cases where cops did nothing wrong, and that really bothers them. And so now, all of a sudden, these body cams, well, they're just a Band-Aid.
The issue here is that systems need to be changed, not just solutions on the outside. I think the issue becomes that the body cam is helpful, but what we're not addressing is the psychology of the police department, and more importantly, the psychology of those who police. It has always been within my belief that many people who have become police, especially those who are found guilty or found brutalizing people, in my opinion, I am not a practitioner in psychology, but it is my belief that these people may have some mental mishaps. These people may have had something that went on in their childhood, which makes them want to have power to dominate.
And then, you know what? Hey, Sinead, I'm fine with all of that, but I do know that in a cultural conversation, in the cultural space that we are, the moment you start bringing up mental health, then there is this clarion call that there should be leniency.
Mm-hmm. In other words, we want to maintain the lenience for mental health when it comes to the people that the cops encounter, but not for the cops themselves, okay? All right, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for this dude here. Hey, I'm sorry, but the reason why you have a lot of cops who are mentally ill or whatever you want to call it is because of our standards. There's been a problem in this country, and that is nobody wants to be a cop anymore. And guess why? Well, we could talk about that till the cows come home. whatever the case, they're not being very picky about who they're getting now. And the affirmative hires, well, that's something that you applauded. You probably enjoyed the fact that, well, we're no longer going to care about how good the cop is as long as we bring in cops of the right color and right gender. Well, this is what you get. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore. People mistreat them, especially in places like Memphis. Keep in mind, most of these incidences are occurring in tough neighborhoods where cops are on edge. They don't feel appreciated. They don't feel that the district attorney is on their side. And so they lash out. And this is kind of the result of it. The Scorpion Unit was created because there's just a lot of tough crime in Memphis. And you have to get tough. You have to be nasty. It's not the cops' fault they have to be like that. Andy Taylor would not last 5 minutes in Memphis. You would actually need somebody more like Barney. A little bit bigger and tougher, but Barney would actually be more like what you need to control crime in Memphis. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'll maybe pick up on the rest of it a little bit later, but they start out being very, let's say, cognitive about it, as he claimed, but then they just kind of diverge right into the same old trappings. It's white people's fault. The white officer, he's the real evil one. This is the guy we really got to get. And, well, what can I say? Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for maybe part 2. I don't know if I'm going to return to this one or not.